Hey, working moms, a quick disclaimer. If you are listening to this episode with your kiddos around, you might want to hit the pause button and come back later. Because in this episode, I'm going to talk about some of the magical moments that we create for our children. Because I know you put a lot of pressure on yourself to make the holidays throughout the whole year extra special for your kids. But this is not what makes you an amazing and successful mom. Whether it's leprechaun traps on St. Patrick's Day or handmade Valentines to pass out in your kids' class or bringing homemade treats on your kid's birthday, these kid focused experiences don't define you as a mom. Today on the podcast, I want to talk about your successful mom criteria. Because women spend a lot of time comparing themselves and feeling like a failure when your life as a working mom doesn't match other people's out there on social media. And yet, you always get to define what success as a working mom is. And I have a feeling it's not making and setting a leprechaun trap this past St. Patrick's Day. Are you ready to define what your successful mom criteria is? I'm walking you through it. Let's get to it. Hello, my working mom friends. Happy Monday. And specifically, as I write this, it's actually St. Patrick's Day. And that's important because that is the inspiration behind today's episode. I don't know if this is a thing where you live, but St. Patrick's Day around here is a day where kids set leprechaun traps and parents are sort of expected to pretend to be the leprechaun that got away, right? And I've even heard from some families that the leprechauns sort of wreak havoc around the house and mess things up, or they pee green pee in the toilet, or they leave footprints or chocolate or even Lucky Charms around the house. And you may not have this tradition where you live, but other similar traditions like Elf on a Shelf, birthday experiences or surprises, heck, even like the Easter Bunny or Santa fall into this list. I also think holiday decorations fall into this category as well, like making your house look really festive at Christmas time. Or my kids really love Halloween decorations and they always like tell me how much more decorations they want. Or maybe for you, it's like hanging the seasonal towels in the bathroom, right? I'm writing this podcast today because it's coming from a lot of passion, because leprechaun traps and balloons on your kids' birthdays and a bunch of holiday decorations on your lawn, they don't make you a good mom. If you don't choose to prioritize these types of holiday traditions, and we'll just sort of generalize it like that, you're not a bad parent. You don't have to feel guilty about the fact that you don't make a leprechaun trap, or you don't buy your kid a balloon, or you don't participate in Elf on the Shelf, or you don't make your kid a homemade treat to take to their school on their birthday, right? Working moms seem to live under this idea that these types of like often kid-focused holidays and traditions are what you should be doing as a mom, right? And you know how much I love that word should. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, I talk about ending the shoulding, but this one sort of just feels so common and we can feel so guilty that I wanted to create an entire episode around this particular should. Of course, there's no problem with being the type of mom, the type of human that loves to decorate around the holidays, right? That loves to give their kids experiences around the holidays and make the holidays special. Maybe it's the way you grew up with a mom that made the holidays extra special and you want to instill that in your kids. That's amazing. I have that feeling about Christmas. And it really wasn't until I married my husband that I realized how different families really celebrate the Christmas traditions. My family goes all out. And the whole house is decorated. Like there's not a single room that doesn't have a decoration in it. And I remember even as a little kid having my own Christmas tree in my room for a couple of years there. My parents still love to put out so many Christmas decorations in their house, on their lawn. I love going over to their house around the holidays. And when my husband married into my family, he found this love for Christmas and the holidays and decorations that he had never experienced before because his family just doesn't make it as special. Of course, they had gifts and they did a few things, but it just wasn't the same experience. Please hear me. There is no right or wrong. I am not saying that my family does it better than my husband's or better than yours or that yours does it better. This is not about right or wrong, bad or good. right? The problem is not being someone that wants to honor holiday traditions or make them extra special for your family. The problem is when you label yourself as being good or bad as a parent because of it. Right? My mom, who went all out for Christmas, is not better than my husband's mom, who didn't, right? The mom that spends the weekend creating a leprechaun trap with their kid is not better than the mom who didn't even acknowledge the holiday. Your friend who goes all out for their kids' birthdays, right? And they wake up to balloons and breakfast treats and gifts that are extravagant. She is not a better mom than you because she throws a bigger party or a bigger deal or gives more gifts around birthdays. Making holidays and traditions extra special and sort of immersive for your kids is not the criteria that makes you a successful or great mom. This is such a slippery slope, and it happens so fast you probably don't even recognize that you're comparing yourself and then labeling yourself as being less than or having failed or feeling bad or even guilty for it. Someone I follow on Instagram just the other day was posting about how on their kid's birthday, I think it was one of their kids' birthdays, and that's why she was posting, but she was talking about how she takes her kids out individually for breakfast before school on their birthday. And she was talking about it because I think they have a pretty big family. And so like the one-on-one attention from mom on your birthday is sort of like a rarity, and it's something that her kids love. And immediately, I felt this like wave of shame and guilt that overcame me because I don't do that. Like it's a brilliant idea, something I should definitely do. But my brain thought I must be doing it wrong as a mom because I don't do that. I must not be really attentive to my children in the same way. I must be failing. This is the simplest of examples, and yet you can extrapolate this out to almost every social media post that you see about another working mom. When another parent is celebrating a tradition or an experience that they've had or that they've created for their family, and then they share that across social media, they're celebrating something for themselves. And our brain, rather than allowing them to have their experience and us to have ours, right? Our brain compares. And in that moment, it labels them as better and us as less than. Going all in and making holidays and traditions extra special for your family does not make you a better mom. It doesn't make you anything except somebody that loves holidays. Our brain likes to compare. I don't know if you notice how often you do that, but our brain is really, really into it, right? Comparison is what helps our brain kind of know if we're on track or not, right? Essentially, we look at all the people around us and the people that we admire, the people that we interact with, and we naturally put ourselves in a hierarchy against them. And usually, for a lot of people, we put ourselves below. Now, this isn't a problem when it comes to like assessing growth and naturally challenging ourselves to be better and improve, right? We need to see sort of a picture of where we want to be, and we can look at people that we admire and we can compare ourselves in some way and say, I want to be more like them. That's fine. As an ambitious person, growth is important and challenging ourselves is really important. And one of the simplest ways to do that is to compare yourself to someone that is further ahead than you so you can see the gap and kind of figure out what steps you need to take to get there. The problem is when we internalize someone else's success as an indication of our failure. Let me say that again. The problem is when we internalize someone else's success as an indication of our failure. Meaning it doesn't matter if you made that damn leprechaun trap or not, or if you do Elf on the Shelf or not, or if you go over the top for birthdays or not. It has no bearing on if you are a good mom. On day 2 of the Ambitious and Balanced program, that's my work-life balance integration program that teaches how to have a priority first life in 3 months or less. On day 2 of that program, I teach you how to redefine success, not just in your career, but in your life as a mom. Because we tell ourselves a lot of different stories about what makes us good as a mom and what a good mom should do, or even what a good employee should do, or what it means to be a hard worker, or what it simply means to be successful. And my hunch is that if you're somebody that compares yourself a lot, And you feel guilty a lot about not making these experiences for your kids and not having these big over the top lavish holidays and so forth. It's because you're defining success as a working mom in a really incongruent way, meaning you are living by an old definition of success. Maybe it's the definition your mom had, or generations before you had, or our culture has, or your boss has, or the only other woman you see working in your office that seems to like have something figured out has, right? Maybe it's the way your stay-at-home mom friends define success as a mom, or heck, your mother-in-law who might have a lot of opinions about what you should and shouldn't be doing as a mom. If you're constantly playing the comparison game and feeling guilty for not giving your kids experiences or honoring traditions in a way that you have in the past, or you see other people doing it, it is because you have an incongruent story with what success is for you. Here's the truth. You get to define success as a working mom in whatever way you want. Another way to say that is that you get to decide what makes you amazing and great as a mom and as a worker, and what makes you successful. You literally get to decide whatever criteria you want to decide. Is it really making holiday traditions extra experiential and special? Is that one of the criteria pieces you want to use to define yourself as a good mom? Or is it being totally present and focused on your kids for the special moments? I like to call this your successful mom criteria. And it's a list of criteria or values that you have as a mom that when you're honoring them, you know that you're killing it. You know that you're showing up exactly the way you want to show up for your kids. I cannot stress the importance of deciding this successful mom criteria right now if you've never done it. Because when you're scrolling social media or when you're talking to other moms, your brain is going to want to use their definitions of success. It's going to want to compare yourself to them and put you in the hierarchy, right? And make you feel less than and make you feel like a failure because you don't have your own personal definition of success. So your brain is using other people's definition. It's the most natural thing for you to do. So what does it mean to be a successful mom? What is your criteria? Let me just offer a few of my own successful mom criteria points just to get you kind of started thinking about this. I'm going to offer you two. The first one, it's really my most important one, is connection. I want to feel in tune and connected to my kids. Because this is so important to me, I hyper prioritize bedtime. Because it's my kids' most likely time that they're going to open up and talk to me and connect to me, to tell me what's on their mind, to share what they're feeling. Just the other day at bedtime, my daughter and I were talking and she said, "Mom, how do you tell someone that you like them?" You know, it's one of those like little tingly mom moments, right? If I didn't have this regular connection time that I had like built into our day and prioritized, that conversation might not have happened. She might not have opened up and asked that question to me. And I definitely want her to be asking me that question, not her friends who knows what they're going to tell and give advice on, right? And because this is such a high priority for me and it makes me feel like a successful mom, I work extra hard to put everything down and look them in the eye when I talk to them about their day. That happens a lot around the dinner table. It could also happen first thing in the morning when we do story time. But connection is so important to me. And it's such an important part of being a successful working mom to me that I have regular ways that I create that throughout my day. Doesn't matter how much time I'm spending with my kids so much as how much I am allowing for connection and making space for connection. Another criteria for me in terms of being a successful mom is emotional processing. Now, this is sort of almost like a value of mine, is that I want my kids to be good at processing their emotions. I want my kids to not be afraid of failure. I want them to not be in a constant state of worrying about what other people think of them. I don't want their self-esteem to be found in other people's opinions. To do this, they have to build emotional resiliency. They need to not be afraid of their feelings. They need to be able to share their feelings, understand their feelings, identify feelings in other people. I tell my son, who is much more emotionally sensitive than my daughter, I tell him that his emotions are his superpower. I tell him that because emotional processing is such an important part of me being a successful working mom. And I'll tell him that his emotions are superpower. It's his ability to feel so deeply and have such empathy and compassion. It makes him unique. Also, because this is such a high value of mine and it's a part of my successful mom criteria, I make a lot of space for emotions, a lot more than I think my friends do or kind of the average mom does. Like, I literally let my kids cry and get angry and not try to fix it a lot. I spend a lot of time listening and trying to help them come up and label their emotions. I'm trying to build emotional resiliency, particularly when they don't like rules or they don't like transitions and things like that. There's a lot of emotions that fly around in our house, all because this is what really matters to me as a mom. How about for you? Here's a few questions I have to get you started thinking about your own successful mom criteria. Here they are. Number one, what are the lessons that you most want to instill in your children? Because answering this question is actually going to likely hint at the things that make you feel successful as a mom. Like, if you're instilling these particular values into your kids, you know that you've you did it, right? So what are the lessons that you and values that you most want to instill in your kids? The second is, what is the criteria that you don't want to use to define success as a mom? That one's probably going to open up then the other side of it, right? If you know what you don't want to define it as, then it's going to give you some language to actually put to how you want to define it. And the third is, what do you want your kids to remember you by once they've sort of left the house? They've gone to college or they've moved away. What do you want your kids to most remember you by? Is it that you set up all of the holiday decorations and you built the leprechaun trap? Maybe it is. That's okay. Or is it something else? I would keep your list to maybe 5, 6 things top, write it down, post it, put it in a place that you could see every day to remind your brain how amazing you are as a mom. You are likely doing a lot of the things that you have on your list, like you're killing it. It doesn't matter what your friends do on social media. It doesn't matter what your neighbor does or what your mom did, certainly not what your mother-in-law did. Your opinion is the only one that matters. You get to define for you what success as a mom means to you. Nobody else is living your life and making your choices on how you spend your time, energy, and presence. It's just you. We talk a lot about living a regret-free life on this podcast. When you get to your kid's graduation day and you look back at the years that you spent raising your children and going after a career at the same time, I want you to smile. Because you did things in an intentional and proactive way that you don't have any regrets. That is what we are creating here in the Ambitious and Balanced community. That's what it's all about. If you are feeling lost or confused or stuck as a working mom and it feels like you are failing in both areas of life, then it is time, my friends. It is time to stop settling. It is time to actually enjoy the amazing life that you have worked so hard to create. If you're ready to feel happy, prioritize more fun and connection with your family, and you want to continue to see your career accelerate at the same time, there is no better time than to connect with me than right now. I offer free calls to any working mom that is looking to catapult themselves into a life of balance and success. I call these breakthrough calls, and on the call, we're going to talk about your unique circumstances and challenges. We're going to talk about what a successful and joy-filled working mom life looks like for you. And we're going to discuss the steps that are going to be required for you to get there. If you haven't yet already, please do schedule your call by going to www.rebeccaolsoncoaching.com/book. If coaching together to reach your goals as a working mom feels right, we'll discuss the different options there as well on the call. I do have a couple of open spots in my calendar right now, and I would love to take you in as a client. All right, working moms, leprechaun traps, all the things that we do for our kids to make holidays extra special, to make moments extra special. Those are the things that do not define you as being an amazing and kick-ass working mom. You get to decide what it is. All right, till next week, let's get to it. The next step to getting unstuck and having more days where you bounce out of bed feeling certain that you're doing exactly what you want to be doing regaining your confidence, ending all of that negative chatter in your head, is to book a free breakthrough call. This is a strategy call where I will guide you through setting a vision for the life that you want to lead as a working mom, and then I'll lay out a plan for exactly how we will achieve that together through one-on-one coaching. You can book that call by going to RebeccaOlsonCoaching.com/book. All right, working moms, let's get to it.